Thank you, Levy, for interviewing Hikaru. Grandmaster Hans Niemann, it's very gracious of you to join for an interview, part 2. Didn't think I'd be interviewing you twice in a month. You finished 4th at the Speed Chess Championship, and obviously you've earned your rest, so please feel free at any point to claim that well-deserved rest. I have a few questions for you, some spicy, some not. Let's start with your last 2 matches in the last 2 days. Obviously, they did not go according to your pre-tournament plan. Magnus claimed that the main reason for your loss against him was the blunders and the time scrambles, which usually went his way. Would you agree with his diagnosis, and what would you add to your reasons for the loss in the first match?
Yeah, I definitely didn't have enough training games before. I had obviously played all these sort of series of matches with Rapid and Blitz, but I think I realized that I hadn't played online Blitz in other than my matches. So I don't think that I was as fresh or sort of in form. So I think I will, it's hard to find strong training partners. Perhaps I should message you to play privately on Lichess. But you can't tell chess.com.
Anytime, any website.
Yeah, no, I think it was more so the lack of form and practice. I think that in the future, in matches against Maxime and Wesley, I sort of just completely winged it because I was traveling nonstop. So I felt that it was more important to be in a good mental state. But obviously, there were many games that were sort of flipping, and I don't think it was the middle games. I felt quite good, and I didn't feel, let's say, positionally or strategically inferior. But I don't think I was as my time management was very poor, and they're both very, very good at punishing, in simple positions or when I'm time pressure. So I think, obviously, it was my first time playing against them, so I didn't really know what to expect. So certainly it was a good lesson.
Do you think the fact that you were under the bright lights literally, as you said, felt quite different from the previous SEC matches you played, and must have felt different from the OTB matches you played against Geary, Bacro, etc.? How much weight would you give the atmosphere, the environment, all of the cameras, and the fact that obviously Magnus has a lot of experience dealing with all of that?
Yeah, I think I was so focused on the game that I didn't realize how much how hot it was, and I was wearing this sweater, and I was sweating quite profusely. So I was a bit distracted by that, by the game, to not sort of optimize. But yeah, I think I don't feel sort of any main difference playing on the computer. Obviously, there were a bit of, let's say, sort of a lag or some mishaps, which were a bit distracting, but in general, I think it's nice to play in front of fans.
Let's get to the second match. Today, obviously, also did not go according to plan. Could you offer your sort of unfiltered thoughts on where the match went wrong and what you think the main factors were, and perhaps what your approach was after yesterday's match, and whether perhaps you would have changed that approach going into today's match?
Yeah, I think obviously there was this first game, the 3+1, where I had just come back winning 2 games in a row, but there was no sort of consistency and stability in my play. So my confidence, the thing in my previous matches is that I never really was behind in any of them. Against MVL, I was down 1 point, and that was the biggest margin. And against Wesley, I was in control the whole time. So first time playing the Speed Championship, of course, playing these matches when I felt like I was in total control. Going to a match where you're sort of starting down, if you haven't experienced it before, it's a very, very difficult mindset shift, because in these 2 matches, everything sort of just flowed, and at every moment where I felt like I was outplaying them, there was something off. It was maybe the time management, or it was some just stupid blunder. So in every sort of, let's say, position, every game, there was one ingredient missing that sort of was the catalyst for things going wrong. And then, obviously, I tilted in the 3+1. That was, quite unnecessary. I think that if I'd even the score at 5-5 and sort of, also these matches, the confidence and just the self-belief, it's like you can't stop doubting yourself if things go poorly. So it's a lot of, the start is so crucial. So I would say that I didn't have enough experience, obviously, against 2 players of their caliber. And to be down, because these in the past matches, even though many people considered me an underdog, I felt like everything just flowed perfectly. So I guess I should find a way to find that flow even against more resistance.
Let's get to a few more general questions. I have a question about the sort of before and after. Starting with the after, you've already put out a few tweets. Just recently, you congratulated Hikaru. Yesterday, you said no excuses. Can you give us an insight into what the next, 1-2 months of Hans Niemann's training regimen will look like, and to what degree do these previous 2 matches change your perception of the gap between you currently at your mental state and your chess state and the very top, the Hikarus and Magnuses? How will you approach your learning experience and the process of analyzing these matches going forward?
Yeah, I think that I think their main strength is of course experience and dominating for so long. You could just tell that I think that a lot of these games, when both players are very strong, it comes down to these scrambles. It comes down to the minute details that aren't even chess related when it comes to time management. And because I wasn't as sometimes you just like the art of time management is something that I don't think any chess player comprehends. Sometimes you just manage your time in the right way and everything goes well. So I think that on a purely positional understanding, strategic on that level, I don't feel that I'm inferior. I do think I have a lot less experience, which might cause me to take more time to understand certain things, but I do think I'm younger and sharper in certain regards. So I think the main point is to reach their level. There is certainly more opening work to be done. As in these other matches, I was in complete control, so I could play the Berlin every game. But obviously, when you deviate and they're in control, they're going to try to kill the game. It's a very delicate thing. So I think that's with some opening work and more experience, and perhaps the right mindset, I do think that I can defeat them. There were moments where I felt like some holes and some weaknesses, and some openings, but they're very, very small, and you need to be very efficient to do that. So I have about 2 weeks. I'll be playing I've been invited to an invitational event. It's a big surprise. I'm playing the Gashimov Memorial. It's a Rapid Blitz tournament, and then obviously at the exact same time as this, I'll be playing the Champions Chess Tour. So I won't have much break, but I'm looking forward to the next year, and I think that I'm obviously only 21. But I think that the most important thing about to leave from this is that my main objection against, let's say, my critics in the chess world is that I just simply want the opportunity to play. So I'm glad that I qualified and I got to play. I'm not asking for special treatment. All I want is the chance to prove myself, and I'm appreciative of the lessons I've learned. Of course, I might not be the most respectful person, but I would hope that you appreciate what has been done to me, and I think it's time to leave that in the past and let the chess speak for itself.
I think your detractors and your fans both your detractors and your fans equally can agree that, first of all, you talk a big talk, but you also walk a big walk, and you have in the last couple of months as you've climbed now to the top 20 in the world. But let me ask you this. In the interview with Levy and some of the interviews before this long-awaited set of matches, you obviously were very confident, and I understand that you might mean that rhetorically, but you all but guaranteed a victory against Magnus. Would you say that you underestimated the strength or perhaps the experience level of these 2 players specifically? And if you had the opportunity to, let's say, do a training camp with Magnus Carlsen, would you push away your personal animus and your personal relations to have the opportunity to learn from him? I'm not offering that training camp, but in that hypothetical scenario, what is more important to you, kind of claiming your position in the chess world or learning from these top guys? Where do you stand on that, and how has your relationship to these players changed as a result of your experience here in Paris?
Well, I think that having a training camp with either of my opponents would, you know, I think that as a competitor, you can't really view people in that type of, let's say, superior way, even if they might be better than you. You simply can't think like that because you have to be so delusionally, confident in your skill, because that's simply the nature of competition. And anyone who's competed at a high level will understand that if you don't believe in yourself, then it's never going to happen. And my, as some people might call it, delusional belief in myself, was when I was a 24/60 international master, and I said to a bunch of grandmasters, I said, I'm going to be 2600 in 1 year, and every single one of them laughed at me. I remember being at a after party of a chess tournament, and they asked who was the most talented player here. Not a single person said me. So while people might find my belief in myself controversial, I view it as a necessity for success. And with regards to my relationship with them, to not rehash things, I am not the aggressor here. I'm just was sort of an innocent bystander in everything that happened, unfortunately. But with regards to moving forward, I did surprisingly receive an invitation to the Freestyle Chess Tour a day before the tournament started. So perhaps that is a peace offering, or maybe they had to invite me. So I did. I don't know if they had. So I look forward to competing in that. Obviously, an invitation isn't guaranteed, but I do hope that the invitation to the Freestyle Chess Tour means that I won't be directly avoided, because I mainly take issue with losing opportunities to compete at the highest level. And if Magnus and Hikaru simply told organizers, we have no issue competing against him, we think he's one of the best players in the world, then that would be the end for me. That is all that needs to be done, and I hope that my invitation to the Freestyle Chess Tour is a sign of that. But I don't think I could do a training camp with them. I think I'll have some camps with Kramnik.
Which segues me into one of my last two questions, Hans. One specific, one more philosophical. I want to ask you about Kramnik. Obviously, contentious figure, as Levy pointed out. Hikaru had some choice things to say about him. Now, Kramnik, he started his campaign against cheating with a video about you that I think he since deleted, where he expressed some suspicions about a game that you played. Now, everybody has said things that they take back. I'm not trying to reopen old wounds, but I have sort of two questions, and you can answer either or neither. The first is, you have to admit that most chess players, most independent chess players, do very strongly disagree with a lot of Kramnik's assertions, his methods, a lot of his accusations. I can speak to that personally. What would you say to his sort of anti-cheating allegations, and do you agree with his general approach? And on a second note, what do you find impressive about Kramnik? Can you share a little bit of what Kramnik has taught you about chess, perhaps about life, and what do you think is misunderstood by the chess public at large about Vladimir Kramnik?
Yeah, well, I obviously have been a victim of false accusations, so I'm probably the least accusatory and the most sympathetic to false accusations, right? So I certainly, what Kramnik, who he accuses and what methods he uses, that's his business, not mine. When he did, let's say, accuse me or simply ask a question, I more so think that Kramnik has an issue with, certain. I think that for him, when he poses certain questions, it's simply that he wants things to be properly investigated, and that's perhaps his perspective. Maybe I'm interpreting.
Do you see how people can think?
No, I certainly
heavily insinuating that like the majority of GMs are cheating.
Yeah, the thing is, my experience with Kramnik, obviously, I reacted to his video in a certain way, and I reacted with diplomacy, and I reacted with respect, and after we did set up a training camp in Geneva, obviously, he's been a great mentor and help, but in terms of his cheating accusations, I'm probably the last person to accuse anyone of cheating. It's like I'm probably the least paranoid of them all, because for me, I could never imagine myself doing anything, so then I would assume that no one else would. So people might find that ironic, but that's the reality. I do think that certain accusations, obviously, I don't agree with, but I do think that, you know, I have no interest in continuing unnecessary strife with large chess organizations. I hope that you might, you know, I recognize that it's in the best interest of myself and chess to not, you know, extend certain arguments. But, you know, I think that people have opinions. Certain things go too far, but he's entitled to his opinion. And, you know, unfortunately, there are many other players who also accuse people falsely, and I don't think they've been held to the same standard. I know I've just lost Hikaru, and much respect to him, but I do think that Hikaru, you know, has made a lot of false accusations, and he should be held to the same standard as Kramnik. So I think everyone's accusations should be met with fact and should provide evidence. If you don't provide evidence, then you shouldn't speak it, you know, because they're so damaging. But you asked me what he taught me, or sorry, repeat the last part.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm not asking you to name the specific anti-Berlin line that came from Kramnik's chess-based file, but you've also pointed out that his influence extends past, you know, very specific chess things into life. Can you offer a bit of an insight into what you think makes him as wise as he is, and some of the ways that he's impacted your approach to chess and life?
Yeah, well, I was actually speaking to him in between games in this match, not yesterday. I would say that I think that he has an amazing sort of intuitive feel for the game. He came to a rapid match in Paris against Bacrot, and he watched one game, and he immediately pointed out how, you know, I was playing too quickly. I need to pause. He told me this story about Anand and how Vichy was an extremely fast rapid player, but what made him so dangerous was that he knew the exact moment to pause, and he explained that rapid is all about knowing when to pause, when to think, and playing quite fast can be quite effective, but if you don't pause at the critical moment, then it's just a waste. So, you know, those types of experiences, and he, you know, since I do not have many, let's say, supporters or friends or even sponsors in the chess world, it's nice to have someone with so much experience and such a legend of the game to believe in you. So I would say that those are the main ways that he's helped.
Do you wish that he would shift his focus in his public-facing statements from what he's doing now to offering his chess wisdom? Do you regret that he has the reputation, which I would argue is perhaps not well-earned in terms of any hate, which should be disparaged, but in terms of people's objective assessment of the majority of his statements, do you wish that he would shift his focus and offer some of that wisdom to the world?
Well, he's coaching the Uzbekistan team, so I guess he's offering some wisdom. I do think that it's important for there to be not just to be one consensus, and in the chess world there's often one consensus, and I think we should welcome challenging voices. However, you know, cheating accusations are a very serious thing and have a serious detrimental impact on people's careers. So perhaps, you know, it's not my job to judge, but he could certainly be more diplomatic, as can I. But sometimes when you or believe in something, you are not as diplomatic as you should be, which in some cases is necessary, some cases it's not. He has a lot of wisdom to bestow, and I think he has the right intentions, but I guess, you know, it's for the people to decide, not me.
Final question, Hans. Obviously, there's been a lot of labeling done. People see you very differently. You've been called the bad boy of chess, the villain of chess. Obviously, you've been compared to Fischer, sometimes positively, sometimes not. Fischer is another one of your idols. Do you embrace this label? You called yourself a revolutionary in the Levy-Rosman interview that triggered some waves. How do you see yourself, and do you wish that your general perception by the chess public were redefined, or do you embrace that label, and does it carry you forward? How do you wish the chess public's perception of you to change in the coming months?
To be honest, I don't mean to mock Hikaru, but I really don't care about what people think of me and how the public perceives me. I only care about if I'm a good influence on whoever my supporters or fans are. I only care that if I manage to be an inspiration to others. People's perception of me is curated, and I think my life and the things that have happened to me are extremely nuanced, and I feel that it's hard for most people to understand all the context and details. So for me, my understanding of the public view of me, I don't take it too seriously because I've never watched a YouTube video in my life and written even a comment, if not even a hate comment. So I would say that sometimes there is a silent, a vocal minority, but I do think that my legacy will be as a competitive player. I might be known for other things, but I got fourth in the speed championship. I do think that I'm the fourth best speed player in the world. I think that on a better day, I could have beaten Alireza and Hikaru because I've played a lot of games against Alireza in 3+0 and I had a great score. But I think that eventually I'll be able to become the best, let's say, blitz player in the world with enough time and work. Classical is a bit more complex, but that is my main goal. And although these defeats were humbling and I learned a lot from them, it still has reaffirmed my faith that being the best is possible. And the path and the specifics of what must be improved has become very clear.
Well, that was a very gracious and informative response. I did lie about one thing. I said I'd let you get your rest tonight, but you're actually chained to this chair. No, just kidding. I said that was the last question, but I'm being told by the superiors to ask your honest predictions about Carlsen versus Ferrugia. Will you be watching? And who do you think, how much of a favorite is Magnus Carlsen, in your opinion?
It's hard to say. I was very surprised with how Alireza beat Hikaru. Maybe because I would play like these 30-game 3-0 matches with Alireza until like 3 a.m. and I think I was like +2 or +1 in them. So, but I think that maybe he's got home turf advantage, but or maybe it was just he's obviously extremely strong. So I would say that's probably since he's coming off of a lot of confidence after his victory against Hikaru, I'd probably give him a 35 to 40% chance.
Well, that's a reasonable prediction. Hans, your SEC run is over, but obviously the public's eyes, both literally and figuratively, will be on you for the coming months. Any last words before I say goodbye and let you get your rest?
No, thank you to everyone for coming. I'll be back next year much stronger, and this is not the end, and one day the chess will speak, and you'll all hear it.
Well, we've heard you, Grandmaster Hans Niemann. Thank you so much for your honest thoughts.